Hey, hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. It's Sunday Comics, and man, am I super bright today. Let's see if I can tone that down. Okay, that's not that bad. How's everybody doing? Good to see you. Little late today because I was trying to figure out how to get on my Rumble stream at the same time, and I don't know if that is working. Uh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, I did it wrong. I have to set it up on Rumble first. That's gonna be a pain in the neck. Okay, so I was trying to. I have a Rumble account that I've never used. I remember everybody saying, "Oh, you got to use Rumble. YouTube is getting a little wonky." So I made a Rumble account. I never used it. So I got to figure out how to simultaneously cast. It's not as easy as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. That you just click it. So I have to make a stream on your Rumble. Okay, I see now. All right, next time. How you guys doing? Let's take a sip of coffee. Oh, that is good. That is good stuff. Okay, and we're continuing the X-Men. I'm going to do an Avengers Assemble, and I want to talk about the Avengers in the same way we're talking about this. Ideally, I'd like to do it at a regular time, but I'm at this this mercy of the schedule at work where I'm working 3 to 11. So I don't know what time would be good. And I know people aren't going to show up for midnight stream during the middle of the night. So I got to come up with something, maybe Saturdays or something. Maybe I'll do Saturdays at 10 or something. I don't know. But then I don't know. So how's it going? This is Fun My Comic. Heroic Tales 2 is still there. Working on a merchandise campaign page, and we'll see how that works out. I got another artist finished up a complete page, drawn, colored, and lettered to see if we can work together. She seems pretty good. It's completely different art style. I'm not going to say not as superhero-y as Renzo. Hope everybody likes it. I kind of like it. I'm curious. The first page is kind of a dull page. But when I said, here's the script, pick whatever page you want and draw that page, I figured she would take the most exciting page or whatever. And she said, I'm going to do page 1. I said, why? Because I know that's a dull page. Because then you can ask me to do page 2 and then page 3. I kind of like that response. So let's see how page 2 comes out. I did the whole thing in like 4 days. First question, is it AI? No. Showed me the layouts, showed me every step of the way. So if it is AI, then she put in more work because, but it's exactly my script. So it's amazing. And we got Pete Rock. How you doing, Pete? Long time no see. How's everything over there? How's Arizona treating you? Did you get snow like the rest of the country? The snow blizzard? And I'm annoyed because I didn't put it in. I didn't put in for any overtime this weekend because I was told by the experts, and you know how the experts are always right, that there was going to be a worse snowstorm this weekend than last weekend, and we got nothing. So I didn't work any overtime because I don't want to drive in the snow, and then we got nothing. Hey, Dave, how's it going? I see Dave just got his comic Perfect 10 number 6 in, and that means that'll be coming to my house pretty soon. Can't wait. I know you sent out the digital rewards, but I haven't read it yet. I got to read the physical comic. How you doing? Good morning. How's everybody? Good to see people popping in. When do you guys think a good time for doing Avengers Assemble would be? All right. We got a bunch of people. Is there any news to talk about in my? I'll talk about my channel news at the end. All right, I got my blessing from Zactan. Good to see you, Zactan. How's everybody? Good to see you. I'm just waking up. I went to bed early last night. I opened up WordPerfect. I started writing a script, and I got like 2 panels of writing done, and I was like, oh my God, I can't keep my eyes open. It was really weird. It was like a magic spell all of a sudden. I was like restless in the fact that like, do you ever get like lazy but like full of energy at the same time? It's like you want to do something but you don't know. I call that restless, you know. And I was like, I got to do something. I got to do something. And then, like as fast as that feeling came, it went away, and I like fell asleep. I went to bed early, and then I couldn't sleep, so I laid in bed and I watched Gravity Falls. I finished Gravity Falls. Really liked it. I really liked Gravity Falls. That cartoon, 2 seasons. It was really, really, really fun. I enjoyed it. Let me know if in the comments if you guys watch Gravity Falls. All right, so let's talk about this comic now. This is one of those comics I remember exactly where I was when I got this. This I got from the 7-Eleven. There was a spinner rack in the 7-Eleven. You walked right in. Diagonally to the left, there was a spinner rack, and I saw this. And why was I excited? Because at this point, I was full on collecting the X-Men. From issue 119 on, I never missed an issue of the X-Men for well over a decade. And I was full on collecting the X-Men at this point. And I was excited every time I saw it. Now, again, at the time I wasn't aware of the artist names and everything like that. You know, I started collecting comics, meaning buying comics that I liked, you know, not like collecting series. I just started buying comics in 1974. So this is 5 years into comics, you know. And when I say buy comics, I like this. I like this. It just looks cool. You know, and I was like confused because I didn't buy them in order. You know, I just bought whatever looked cool on the stand. And then, like, you know, within this year, I was taught that these numbers were sequential numbers, you know, and you had to get them in order and everything. And they came out once a month. I was just like, they magically showed up. Stupid kid. And so I remember when this came out, I was like, this is a cool cover. And till just now, I just always thought this was a John Byrne cover, you know. I didn't pay attention. The last time I literally took this out and looked at it was well over 15 years ago. But it says right there, Dave Cockrum, Terry Austin. So Dave Cockrum, Terry Austin. And again, I got to remark on how similar the art style was. You know, it had this, what I would call the Neil Adams influenced X-Men style. Even though at this point, when this comic came out, I didn't know who Neil Adams was, you know, in 1979. So just look at this great cover. The Trial of Colossus. Danger Room operating, training sequence, hydraulic vice. You know, just look at that. All right, so let's address, so going forward, comments. The X-Men are hard to look at. They're so uncanny. Yep. How you doing, Marcus? Let's see. So we got this ad over here. We got that splash page. Interesting use of colors. The colors are very subdued. You know, we got Colossus in the bright primary colors. Then we got this, like, I don't know, like lavender, pink, purplish, steel looking stuff. You know, great setup page. We know exactly where he is because the cover set it up so well. And we got Chris Claremont, writer, co-plotter, John Byrne, co-plotters, breakdowns. Oh, and Terry Austin finished art. Oh, okay. So what does that mean? That means that John Byrne probably needed to catch up, because I think at this point he was also doing Iron Fist and maybe Marvel Tales. Not Marvel, Marvel Team Up. So he probably needed some time, you know, to catch up. So he did the breakdowns. So he did layouts. So Terry Austin did the finishing. So whenever they say finishing, that's a little bit more than inking. You know, a lot more than inking. So Tom Wasikowski, letterer, Glennis Wynn, colorist, Roger Stern, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. And as normal for Chris Claremont, we got a lot of words on this page. We got more words on this page than I probably had in my entire first issue of Heroic Tales. So we got Colossus in the vice, and he's just got to keep him pushed out. Cyclops, I can't do it. I can't. And just look at that. Colossus looks trembling. He looks powerful. How could you not like Colossus? Look at that. That is so cool. Does he still have the shoulder wings? Because that is so 70s. That is so 70s. The shoulder wings with the flaring buckaroo, swashbuckling boots. That is, I like the belt. I don't know, just cool looking character. The comments are just Marcus. Okay. Marcus is putting out the link to the Perfect 10 collection. That's Dave Brink's comic. I highly recommend it. And then everybody else is saying hello. So we got Wolverine. Was he smoking a cigarette, or is he picking his mouth with the toothpick? I don't know. Looks bad, Psyche. He ain't even trying hard. I know it's not a physical problem. I ran a medical check on him this morning, and he's in tip-top shape. He's been fretting ever since we tussled with Magneto, worrying about not pulling his own weight. So ever since issue 112. So since issue 111, and what are we up to? 122. So for 11 issues, excuse me, I gotta blow my nose. So I'm gonna nobody needed to see that, but I needed to blow my nose. Okay, so for 11 issues, the X-Men have been away from their home base trying to get home. It's been like an epic journey. Not one of these stories are my muse. They're not the whiny X-Men yet. That doesn't really happen until after John Byrne leaves. So Colossus, he's just whining. Cyclops, please shut the hydraulic press off. I cannot hold these walls back much longer. This is ridiculous. There's no way near the limits of his strength. So maybe he's got a lot of those. Maybe he can't concentrate on your flaming test. Great. What do we do if he folds in the fight? He ain't going to fold. And I always thought this was cool. Now, this is interesting. Now, I think it was Marcus who said that back then they always had like one red panel on each page. So I'm gonna make sure I can. But look at this. We got this orange red panel over here. We got this orange red panel over here. So what is Wolverine doing? He ain't gonna fold. So he's got his hands on the control panel and he hits snink. If he's got a problem, why doesn't he talk about it? If opening your head to the world was as easy as that's like, you'd be in a better shape. You'd be in a better shape than you are. Be seeing you. Yeah, the panel's shorting out. Holes. Wolverine must have popped his claws, but why? So Wolverine's pushing his way in. You should not be in here while the Danger Room is operating. I've been breaking rules since I was born. I ain't gonna quit now. Well, what are you doing? Giving you an incentive. You mustn't stay. These walls would be crushed. Everybody dies, Pete. Sooner or later, might as well die with a friend. I got an idea. What's bugging you, pal? Most of us were loners before we came to the accident. The team's kind of given us a family we never had. But you got family, friends, roots. No law against being homesick. What's stupid is letting it tear up your guts. Wolverine, Cyclops, shut off the machine. I can't. Wolverine sabotaged the controls. The press is at its full power, Colossus. Either you stop it on your own or you get squashed. And then boom. Way to go, Rusky. So he pushes the machine and ruins it. So Wolverine, little rare Wolverine as the psychological coach over here. But he put himself into real danger. And this always pressed me. This panel right here was my argument that Wolverine had super strength. If this is the Danger Room and the Danger Room doors are closed, then the Wolverine can open it. He's not using his claws cutting through. He's pushing it open. So that was I remember, as a kid, we always had those, it's clobbering time, who could win in a fight. and it was Wolverine without claws, And I was like, he's got super strength. And then, we argued about it, and we were like little lawyers finding the panels, showing each other. It was fun. I liked all that stuff. The precedent of what's going on, and I always like the shape of the holes over here. This me. I'm not gonna lie. Me and my friends, we loved Wolverine at this point. He was mysterious. He was cool. He wasn't ruined yet. If you ask me, he's kind of like overpowered, just like Batman. You got a lot of snow down here in North Carolina. Yeah, we didn't get the snow this weekend, which is good. Some powers are just a bad matchup. Colossus get better, but don't feel terrible about it. Some powers are just a bad matchup. Colossus get better, but don't feel bad. Omnipro B says good morning, and they're saying good morning back to Omnipro B. Okay, so boom. We got the Trons. Here come the Trons. The Micronaut robot clowns that make you laugh. Alphatron, Betatron, Gamatron. So they're just wonky little, spastic moving robot, battery-powered robot Micronauts. I don't know if they were part of, like in Japan, were they part of the Micronauts line? And then in America, they just folded them into the Micronauts because the Micronauts were a big deal at the time. I don't know. I did it. Yep. You were right, my friend. Everything I try seems to go, so I thought perhaps it's better to try not to give up. You do that when you're dead, pal. Hiya, psych. Worry about us. Are you two all right? And then we got like this red circle over here. I think that fulfills the red panel per page. Never better. I did pretty good with Petey, if I do say so myself. Do you think I'll replace Dr. Joyce Brothers? Yes, so he's smoking a cigarette. Could be, but first you're going to replace Mr. Fix-It. I want the press cycled into the repair shop and the main control panel rewired. That'll take hours. I was planning on headed into the city this afternoon. Then you better work real fast if I were you. Come on, Colossus. Enjoy yourself. Wolverine, you are very hard on him, comrade. I know. I applaud what he did, Peter, but his methods could have gotten both of you killed. And, hello, Sailor. New in town? Hello, Khalid. So this is Khalid Wing. What happened in there? I felt the whole building shakes. Not much. Just, I'll be ready in a minute. I'm looking forward to taking the day off, especially that crazy fight with the living monolith. So we're referring to Power Man Iron Fist 57, now on sale. So I'm not sure if that's the first appearance of the new X-Men outside of their comic. I'm sure Marcus can let me know. But, this is what I love is they're referring to. They had a crossover with Power Man Iron Fist. Why? Because was Claremont. Well, John Byrne and Chris Claremont wrote Iron Fist, and then when Iron Fist got canceled, he jumped over to Power Man Iron Fist, and I don't know who's writing it, drawing it at this time, but there's a crossover there. I love this little. When they do crossovers. And Colleen Wing, if you remember, they met in Japan, and Cyclops and Colleen Wing are kind of having a little fling. And I still need to point out that Cyclops has been saying, I don't feel as bad about Jean Grey's death as I should, which to me fuels my theory, my fan theory, that Cyclops has been manipulated by telepaths his entire life, which is why his personality is the way it is. And if I was to take over Marvel, I would have Cyclops go on a come back to Jesus meeting, like stay away from telepaths, get scanned by Doctor Strange kind of thing, and realize that his brain is literally damaged from all the years of hanging around telepaths, that he doesn't know what is his ideas, what is his actual feelings, what is his actual personality, and not. I mean, right? Xavier was a telepath. Jean Grey, telepath. Madeline Pryor, right? Wasn't the Goblin Queen some sort of telepath, a mind manipulator? And then Emma Frost. There's something like, is that his weakness? Besides the optic blast, is he just vulnerable to telepaths? I could see him being attracted to telepaths because he's such a stick in the mud. He keeps his emotions. He's got to keep himself all tightly wound up. That it's easier for a telepath to get into his mind and see everything because he can't let his feelings out. Kind of makes sense. That's one of the things I love about comic books is figuring out a through line that either nobody thought about or maybe was hinted at, and lost. I love that kind of stuff. So I do feel that there could be a redemption arc for Cyclops. Sorry, Stippling Vaughn. I still have a hope for Cyclops. I know you don't like him, and you have a very valid reason. The reason you don't like him is the reason I think he needs a redemption arc. The whole deadbeat dad thing. So what's going on? So this is further proof of this is evidence. This is the kind of stuff that I would use to make this Cyclops story. Is the fact that Jean Grey, like how long has this been going on? Jean Grey was, in his perspective, assumed dead in issue 114. And this is two. What issue is this? 122. So how much time has passed in comic book world? And Cyclops still has a more. Matter of fact, he's done the opposite. He's like, I strangely don't feel anything. Is that because he keeps his emotions so tight that he won't allow himself to feel anything? That's a perspective. But there you go. Robot clowns sound even worse than the regular ones. I know. Robot clowns. They're like the real thing, but worse. So let's go to the next page. And what we got over here? Meanwhile, in the hidden hangar complex connected to the mansion by an underground tunnel. Shades above, Kurt. The Blackbird's been mothballed, just like Cerebro in the mansion, as if the professor never intended to use it again. Teleport over to the phone and answer. He could walk over, but he teleports over. Why? To remind us what the characters could do. It's just a good casual use of their superpowers. I kind of like that in comics when the superheroes use their powers casually. And I like, one of the things I've always liked about Nightcrawler is how he just gets into everything. So right now, him and Banshee are working on the plane. So Nightcrawler, he commits to the bit. He's got the hat, he's got the gloves, which oddly enough fit his misshapen fingers. He's got the whole mechanic thing. Like, we're gonna work on the Blackbird. I'm wearing the whole suit. I'm wearing the costume. I'm committing to the bit. Like, I just like that. I don't know. I always got a kick out of Nightcrawler. Oh, that's good coffee. Oh man, sometimes you make a pot of coffee and it just isn't right. Oh, that is good coffee. So listen to Nightcrawler. So he's answering the phone. X-Wing Restorations, Apprentice Mechanic Wagner speaking. What can I do for you, Fierce Leader? So I just like that. Like Nightcrawler, I know he's somebody's favorite character, but to me, he's always been one of my favorite support characters. Like, I never thought Nightcrawler could hold his own comic. He's not that strong of a character. I don't know. I know I'm wrong because people love Nightcrawler, but I always like Nightcrawler as the buddy. He's just such a good buddy. That's why I like Nightcrawler. Man who's happy in his work. How's it going? Slowly, I'm afraid. Condition are as bad as we found in the house. What do you think happened? I don't know. Sean, listen up. Wolverine messed up the Danger Room panel pretty badly. Check the circuits when he's done fixing it. I'd help him, but I'll do it the phone company. Not to worry, I'll give you a hand. Go enjoy yourself. You more than earned it. So I like this. So Banshee, he's the oldest member of the team besides Xavier. And they just fill it in the blanks now. As far as I know, I've never seen Banshee as a mechanic before, but he's the mechanic now. He lost his powers, so he still has a use in the X-Men. Cyclops is acting like a leader. And then something still bothering you? Yeah, Professor Xavier, he's gone. Cleared out. Princess Landra, too. I can't shake the feeling that they're not coming back. So again, Xavier didn't leave a message. He thought they were all dead. So remember, Hank McCoy, the Beast, Jean Grey, Phoenix, was split when the lava came down, when the magma came down in the Antarctic base. They got separated. So Hank and Jean think that everybody else is dead. They go back home. They tell Xavier, I think there's a little flaw there. Xavier should have been able to find them telepathically. But he didn't because of plot. And then so Xavier takes off with his space chick. He closes down the mansion. Now the X-Men show up, and Xavier is in another galaxy. Space, again, X-Men were a superhero comic at this point. Space exploration, adventure, fighting dinosaurs. They weren't the feel sorry for themselves yet. Meanwhile, a world called Imperial Center. We find Charles Xavier, a man who's come seeking his heart's desire. So he's at this uniquely looking John Byrne. I'm looking, there's no red panel on this page. There's no red panel on this page. Okay, so much for that theory. And he's flying around. And I've always liked that the Imperial Shi'ar world ships look like insects. This world does have an alien technology. Reminds me of of Mobius, that works. And what are they doing? So I forgot what's going on. So Empress Leandra is going home. So she was exiled to Earth because her brother was the legal, cultural, whatever. He was the monarch, the emperor of this entire empire, the galaxy. He was a nut job who tried to destroy the universe. He tried to summon some Lovecraftian horror from beyond and destroy everything. And Empress Leandra led a rebellion, which it seems like the Shi'ar galaxy is pretty stable. Like in Rome was pretty stable for a while until it wasn't, and they had mad Caesars. But you could kill those emperors and put another one in. The bureaucracy and everything was so solid enough that they could handle that. This looks like it didn't happen, so they didn't know what to do. Like, do we execute her because she overthrew the real emperor? So she stayed on Earth hiding for a while. I guess everything's clear. They realize this was extraordinary circumstances. She's come back, and not only did she come back, she comes back with her Earth consort. Now, they must be kind of a metropolitan people, because not only did she come back with a non-native to their world, but a handicapped, and they're still happy. And Xavier's being a stick in the mud. He's like, pageantry has its place, but it's like, shut up. You're married to, you're being with the Empress chick, you got to deal with the Empress chick's responsibilities. It's like Meghan Markle. You want to join the British royal family and then complain? Well, there's a couple of auto mechanics you could have married. I'm sure you wouldn't have had any problem, but no, you wanted to get in the royal family and then ruin his life. Fine. Okay, and then, so and now Xavier, everything was fine when he had his exotic alien chick on Earth. Now he's in her element, and he probably feels like the outsider here. Let's see. Oh, a lot of comments. I like the telepath theory. Sometimes people feel guilty for not feeling sad enough. Yeah. I went through this. I was just talking with a coworker a couple of weeks ago. His mother and my mother went through dementia before they died. And you get mad at them. You can't help it. My mom just became super, super argumentative about everything. It was like a chore to deal with her. And then when she died, I felt relieved. So I felt guilty that I felt relieved, and then I felt guilty that I wasn't sad enough. You know what I mean? So I understand. I really like this version of Cyclops costume. It's simple, which focuses on, this is my favorite Cyclops costume. This is, well, it's also because this is how I was introduced to so this is what imprinted on me. Nightcrawler being a little gremlin. Cyclops never uses a utility belt, which is why I don't like the Jim Lee much. I don't like the Jim Lee version much because there's too many lines. Superhero costume is supposed to be simple as possible. And I know that they did that so that the 60s and 70s guys could churn out artwork really quick. But again, that's what imprinted on me. That became the standard. They're costumes, not uniforms. Nightcrawler became a man, and Nightcrawler's Excalibur writing. Yep, I agree. That's probably some of the best Nightcrawler stuff, and the art was so good. I think the first appearance of the old X-Men outside of the comic was Marvel Team Up 53. Also, the first time Byrne drew the X-Men. Oh, okay, there you go. I knew Marcus was going to have the info. Not like that. Blame Star Trek for mechanics with accents. Oh, good call. Good call. Yeah, we got the Irish mechanic over here. Scotty, the Scottish. Okay. The vehicles are insects and the planet is a hive. Dementia is the worst, up there with cancer. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I won't watch The Notebook. To me, The Notebook is a horror movie. Let's go to the next page. Okay, so we got some ads. Atlas Body in 7 days? 7 days. 7 days. You get the book in the mail, you open it up, and boom. You get an Atlas Body. You know. See-through chicks' clothes. A secret book safe. You put all your valuables in a fake book on the shelf. A spud gun. That's the one I always wanted. Stick a potato in the handle and shoot pieces of spud at people. I'm still tempted to do a silly story about a kid who becomes a superhero based on all of this stuff. You know, the gimmick. Kid gimmick. I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I'm tempted to do it. Oh, we got Stippling Vaughn. The only X uniform is the black and yellow suit. Only team to have a uniform. Yeah, I do like the black and yellow suits, you know, the original suits. And I do like it's a rite of passage when they graduate and they get a unique suit. I kind of like that. I kind of like the whole, like, you got to earn your suit, kid. You know, like you're an apprentice until you graduate. Or, you know, sidekick. So now I like this. So this becomes a thing in Claremont. There's always a big action comic, and then the next issue is a lot of character development. So this is all subplots moving the story along. So last issue, we had the culmination of the Alpha Flight fight. And now we have moving along the plots and character. So we learned a little bit about Colossus. We learned a little bit about Cyclops. Wolverine is evolving as a character. Nightcrawler is happy-go-lucky. And now we're going to, and then what's going on with Xavier and Princess Leandra. And now we move on over to Scotland. And we got Jean Grey. And she bumps into Jason Wingard for the first time. You know, you sure I can't give you a hand? Those parcels felt pretty heavy. It's all right. I'm a lot stronger than I look. When my telepathic powers, not my muscles, are carrying most of it. Well, then, I bid you good evening, and I hope we meet again. So my theory with this is, you know, he startled her. I mean, am I spoiling anything and say that this is Mastermind? You know, this is the beginning of the Dark Phoenix saga. You know, he's the fly in the ointment, the motivator, the villain. So my theory is he's using his powers on her, but he needed to distract her. She probably, again, this is my fan theory. Why did he do this? Other than it's just interesting for us, you know. And then we see his shadow over here. You know, and she's like, I'm not worried. Jason Wingard's still watching us. So there's something about him, a sense of deja vu. I've said we met before. He's a handsome devil. I'll give him that, you know. So my theory is she naturally has psychic defenses. So this little startle was, whoop, the shield went down for a second. That was his little plant the seed. That's my theory. But I mean, story-wise, that's my thing. But, you know, for comic book-wise, this is just a way to introduce the villain, you know. So it's not like, what Mastermind, where did he come from? So this is just to show us, the readers, you know, something's going on. Either way, it works. Angus McWhirter, you're wasting that time, Edward McWhirter. He's not here, and he's been seen in parts. Do you think something's happened to him, Stuart? I don't know, but we best notify the police. So Angus McWhorter, remember he had a hovercraft and he rented it out to the X-Men, and then Magneto destroyed it. So he hates the X-Men, so he's like plotting revenge, but now he's disappeared, as my sister used to say when she was a little kid. And, so I just like this. They're making the X-Men universe feel tight and real. Like Colleen Wing is still showing up. Jean Grey is walking along the same places where in issue 104, 105, they met Angus McWhorter. And she's got her own little team of like mutants over here on my McTaggart Island. So that, she's working with Myra McTaggart. We got Lorna Dane. We got Alex Summers, Cyclops' brother, Havok. So this is Polaris, Lorna Dane. This is Alex Summers, Havok, and this is Myra McTaggart. For some reason, I've always liked Myra McTaggart. And, again, I'm going to defend people that have been pestering me, but the same face, that's the same face as that. Tell me, could you tell the difference between this is Myra McTaggart and this is Colleen Wing? You know what I mean? The same face has been a comic book thing for forever. The only way we know that that's Jason Wyngarde is that unique hair, but swap hair. It's the same person. Comic book artists have been using the same faces for years. So if you know what I'm talking about, there's a guy who busted my chops, and everybody's like, oh, but he's been drawing the same. That doesn't really bother me. I do like his art, even though he is a jerk. So now with Salem, Massachusetts, Colleen and Scott are going on a date. I like this guy's checking out Colleen Wing over here. He's like, whoa. Colleen, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be a day off, and I've done nothing but talk business. I haven't complained, Scott. Buy you a late lunch? I thought you'd never ask. Scott Summers, you got the riz. The vehicles are insects. The planet's the hive. Your dimension. Okay. Okay. So I'm all caught up. His superpower is a psychic ability to make gadgets and gimmicks work as long as he believes that they are real. Oh, my character, the kid gimmick. I was just thinking like he literally he finds an old comic, and he's like, I want to get all of these. And then, he gets a big package with all of it, and like the joke is that nobody else ever sent away for this stuff, so he gets it, and it's all like real, and he becomes a superhero. Or maybe he's a kid genius and he builds it. I don't know. It's a half-formed idea that I only think about when I do Sunday comics. So let's turn the page. Oh no, we got advertisements. I can't wait. We've got some Hulk socks, some Spider-Man socks, a Thor pencil caddy, otherwise known as a cup, a Captain America mug. I like this Spider-Man Stein, plastic wallets, a Spider-Man toothbrush. That would be great if you had a Spider-Man toothbrush and it shot webs all over your face. This always makes me laugh. Too skinny? Remember, back in 1979, we were too skinny. That we, in comic books, advertise ways to gain weight. You know what I mean? Oh, how the tables have turned. And what do we got now? So now, actually, I have an irresistible craving for an ice cream soda. Fine by me, but while we could talk about work, about us. So now, I like that. So Cyclops now is starting to accept that Jean Grey is gone, moving on with his life. Which, again, bolsters my theory that he's been manipulated telepathically. Like, it's so easy to say goodbye to Jean Grey. It was a teen fling. She was the only chick in the group. He's been hanging out with Xavier since he was 15 years old. He meets a chick. Of course he's attracted to her. It's the only one he knows. And now he's free of her influence. He's starting to realize it was like artificial. This is my theory. And now he's moving on to Colleen Wing. This is based on real stuff. She's a real girl without telepathy. And Cyclops goes through like a string of girlfriends around here. And then every time Jean Grey shows up, he jumps back, which implies to me that she's been manipulating, and then I would have her manipulating Iceman and all that stuff. Colleen, am I stuffy? Like King Tut's tomb, sport. Recently, it's like my whole life, my self inside man has been topsy turvy. All the things I thought were like, about. So Cyclops right away starts whining. Try smiling now and again. You'll feel. I like this. Colleen Wing is just like, she's just cutting through. You want to feel sorry for yourself? She ain't having it, but she ain't mean about it. He's like, am I stuffy? Like King Tut's tomb. Yes, you're stuffy. Well, my whole life is this. Try smiling. Can you imagine saying that to a girl? Smile, you'd be prettier. But Colleen Wing says it to Cyclops. That's always been hard, relaxing, I've noticed. So they're in the old malt shoppy, having an ice cream soda. We got a spinner rack over here. This is the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. And then we got, so Wolverine he's got the Rolls Royce. He's dropping off Storm. Wolverine, I can take care of myself. What I do today, I must do alone. I need no escort. Roro, you're acting crazy. This ain't Africa, babe. This ain't anything you've known. Farewell, my friend. I'll see you back at the mansion. Okay, Roro. That's the way you want to play it tonight, but you ain't home tonight. If you ain't home tonight, you ain't heard, and we ain't heard anything. I'm coming back for you. I ain't going to be gentle with the buck dumb enough to get my way. So this is interesting. So Wolverine takes a Rolls Royce and drives to Harlem, and this is comic book Harlem, so it's bad Harlem, and drops off Storm. And she's walking around Harlem. So how do you think that looks? A white guy in a Rolls Royce just drops off Black Storm in the middle of Harlem, and then he drives away. Rush hour traffic. There's a rodeo at Madison Square Garden. I'll stash the roll somewhere, grab some eats, then check out the show. What the? That Japanese woman, Mariko. What are the odds? What are the odds? Driving through Manhattan, he sees Mariko. What's she doing in New York? No one said she was coming to the States. Mariko, hey, you dumb cowboy. What do you think you're doing? So he just leaves a Rolls Royce with the door open in the middle of the road to go talk to Mariko. Wait a minute. Don't close that door. Logan, I'm friends of Mariko. And Miss Yashida, can I see her today? I'm sorry, Mr. Logan. Miss Yashida is not to be disturbed. Could you at least tell her I called? Mariko. Okay, Bob. I can take a hint, but I'll be back soon. So I'd like to think, because this bothers me to no end, that he went back into the Rolls Royce and got in the car. If anybody was checking it out, he's Wolverine. He pulled him out of the car and drove away. Otherwise, it'll just kill me. And I always like this. So we got Storm just walking around through Harlem. Here we got a red panel. And we got all of the, the stereotypical Huggy Bear pimps, checking out Storm. And she sticks out like a sore thumb, And what is she doing? My father's tales, this was a magical place. Wicked yet joyous. Poor, rough-edged, but alive. He was so happy to leave it, yet sad. Or it seemed almost like the magic's gone. As if it wasn't here. Goddess, what a stench. It makes the pits beneath the city sun god smell sweet by comparison. I remember so what is she doing? She's checking out where she was born. She was born in this apartment building, and we got garbage, pimps and hoes, guys sleeping over here. And here, and she grew up in the slums of Cairo, you know what I mean? I remember so much yet so little. It was summer when we left, and the neighborhood was full of music, jazz. Papa said it played hot and loud. That hasn't changed. So she's going up the stairs. Interesting. Again, we just got little 2 pages, little slices of each character. So far the only one who's got gypped is Nightcrawler, and well, not really. We see Nightcrawler's happy in his role of learning how to be a mechanic. So everybody's getting a little screen time in this one. Omnipro. Instead of Mastermind just making Gene see the X that is monster to kill, he makes her fall in love. Yeah, perverted. He's, again, you'll see, and I'm sure I'll have some choice words, but he's grooming, Mastermind is grooming Jean Grey for the Hellfire Club. And what is the Hellfire Club? It's a sex club. It's the Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein of the superhero Marvel world. And Emma Frost was the second in command of this. She is Ghislaine Maxwell, and what's his name is the why can't I think the character's name is the Jeffrey Epstein, Sebastian Shaw. You know, it you'll see, and that's why I get so mad when I see people like talking about the White Queen, she's a horrible. You don't recover from being a sex trafficker. Thing is, smiling is generally good advice. The smile should not be forced, but the act makes one happy and makes one look. Yes, absolutely. Looking miserable. I say it to my partner all the time. My partner is this miserable guy, always complaining. And I always say to him, smile, Rob. Smile, Rob. You look so pretty if you smile. He calls me a dick. But then whenever they tries to break us up, he's like, no, I'm staying with John. Terry Austin added a graffiti and names of Marvel staff employees on the wall. Pretty cool. Did he? First, is this Henry Bemis? Henry Jarmek. Okay. How do you? Yeah, it says Patterson over here. Checks cashed. You know, whenever you see checks cashed, you're in a bad part of town. Stippling. Nightcrawler has always had Amanda Stephanie, even though we haven't met her yet. Yeah, well, yeah. Right now he doesn't. You know what I mean? It's in the quantum state. I think we meet Amanda Stephanie in like 2 issues for her first appearance, and she doesn't have any. She's just a tabula rasa at the point because she became this magical sorceress in her own right, which would have came in handy when she was kidnapped by Arcade. You'll see. I'll talk about her in another couple of weeks. So let's turn the page. Free super shot vet. So we could get these. I don't even know what the name of these cars are, but these racing cars. Pretty cool. Kids played with toys back then, rather than just video games. Anybody here have children? Boy children? Do they play with toys other than video games anymore? I don't even know. Omnipro. That's an awesome comparison for the Hellfire Club. I didn't know that it was a brothel. It was modeled. If you watch the Avengers, the television show, the British television show with Emma Peel, she infiltrates a sex club, and Jason Wingard is the name of one of the actors in that episode, and Emma Peel wears the corset. She wears the Jean Grey costume, same hairstyle and everything. And she goes, because it's, they're being a little bit more delicate with the language, but it's a sex thing. It's procurement and grooming and whatever words I'm being careful using. And then Chris Claremont used that to make the Hellfire Club. It was called the Hellfire Club in the episode, if memory serves. There were bad people doing bad things. And, you'll see when we get to it. I'm not crazy. Well, I am crazy, but I'm also correct. This ad always made me laugh. Spider-Man looks just in such agony over here. Sorry, also, life has no meaning without my Marvels. Disappointed by missing your Marvel mags? Subscribe. Subscribe now and get a pen. I like this. If you subscribe to at least 2 of our frantic favorite superstars, you'll get absolutely free a fabulous Spider-Man marking pen, without which Thomas Jefferson could never have written the Declaration of Independence. That's quite an artifact. You get a Spider-Man pen. This Spider-Man pen changed the history of the world because Thomas Jefferson used it to sign the Declaration of Independence. The walls are charred wood and smoke, and there's been a recent fire here. The radiators are ice cold. The building probably has no heat all winter. Why am I here? What am I looking for? Yes, I was born here. Part of my heritage is here. But what? So she's just trying to figure out her life. She knows her life in Africa. She was born in America, specifically Harlem, specifically this building, specifically this apartment. So she's going to, just check. My hands are shaking. It's madness. I know things are waiting for me inside, but I can't. So first off, she's being a jerk. In that she just opens up a door. You know, I had apartments. I can't just go and open up the door. Like, she doesn't knock. She just walks in, and it's a junkie. What do they call that? Like a crash pad, you know? There's Ethan Van Sciver in the bathroom over there with Sloshy, and they're all just hanging out, shooting up the shooting gallery. That's the word. And then Chris Claremont, like Terry Austin, as he said, he put people's names on there. I can't read it. I see Roger Stern. It says Fight Society, Jim Shooter. You know, he wrote all their names. Although I love the Gene Simmons poster. So all these people just hanging out. Like, what? And she just opens the door. You know, shooting. Now it's a shooting gallery for junkies half her age. Ta-da! Zach Dan says, I need AI art of Thomas Jefferson with the Spider-Man pen, or real art if someone wants to draw that, or a photograph. Get an actual photograph of the actual Thomas Jefferson using an actual Spider-Man pen to sign these to write the Declaration of Independence. So it's just Storm. You know, I know you grew up in Africa, but you don't just open up a door to somebody's apartment. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of stuff that, you know. She should have opened the door and then, like Peter Griffin, going into the bushes, you know. Dun, dun, dun. Giant sailplane. What you doing, pretty mama? I mean, you no harm. No kidding. That's pretty good, considering I'm holding the blade. You're trespassing on my turf, lady. If you want to leave healthy, you got to pay. Do not threaten me, child. So you ain't wrong. You don't just walk into somebody's apartment. I remember when I lived in Albuquerque. I think I told this story before. I was working at a bar. So now the bar's closed at 2. I cleaned the bar. So now it's about 3. And I decided to go over to my friend's house. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I went to his house. I know I'm wrong, but memories are a funny thing. And I just remember driving to this shady part of town, and it was like one house in an industrialized area. So it was just like this. And I remember him saying, it's not the best place to live, but the rent is cheap. You know, he's got like 2 roommates. He's paying nothing. So I just walk in the door like an idiot at 3 o'clock in the morning. And there was just a guy sitting there watching TV. He just looked at me and I looked at him, and I was like, whoops. And I did the Peter Griffin. You know what I mean? Like, if this is Albuquerque, everybody's got a gun. I'm lucky I didn't get shot. It was just so freaking stupid, you know? I was like, sorry, wrong house. And I just left. Never went back again. You know, I told my friends, like, you idiot, I moved. You know, it was college. Everybody's moving every semester. But you don't do that. So this guy, like, you just walk into a house, you know, I'm not saying, like, stabbing her and murdering her is justified, but it's like, this is his house, you know, I assume. So pulls a knife on it. I understand Storm doesn't want a knife pulled on it. We know Storm has good intentions. He don't know this. I mean, he's a junkie. He's supposed to be the bad guy, but I can't help but think of this as the guy who lives in this apartment. But, you know, it's between the lines, nobody, you know, it's you know, they're all squatters, stuff like that. Hey, look at that. She flattened Bluey without even trying. Is she heat, Johnny? If she is Frankie, then we're going to waste ourselves a lady cop. Everyone, knives! So everyone just pull. They're like jackals, yet their children stay away. Too late, frail. I love that, frail. Circle her and stay loose. Even if she's packing a gun, she can't drop us all before we gut her. If you listened to Bluey, Mama, coughed up some bucks, we would have gotten straight. Everything would have been cool, but now we're going to hurt you. Now you're going to die. I can't retreat. They'll be on me in an instant. I'll stand my ground. Try to face it. Here we got a red panel signifying danger. Please don't come any closer. I don't want to harm you. What's going on? What's going on? My dad called. I may not be back. Okay, good luck with your dad. I know your dad. How's he doing? Is he recovering well? Both she and the junkies think the other is defiling their space. Yeah. Storm's wrong. You don't just walk into somebody's apartment. You know what I mean? Just because she was born there. You don't get to do that. You also don't get to murder people, you know, and they're junkies. Not every artist could be praised with 20 panels for her to knock on the door and convince the person that opens the door to let her in. Yeah, I know. If she knocked on the door, we wouldn't have all of this. So for story purposes, if you saw that I was I had a question answered by Chuck Dixon on Ask Chuck Dixon on his YouTube channel. So go to Ask Chuck Dixon on YouTube, and you'll see he answers one of my questions. I asked him 4 questions. He only answered 1. The other ones were about theater versus cinema. I guess he didn't care. But he answered, does the force dictate how you, does the plot force how your characters act, or do your characters act and mess up your plot? And I'm of the opinion that you come up with the story, and then once you insert the characters, that story should be different depending upon who the characters are. If you put Wolverine in plot A, it's going to be a different story than if you put Superman in plot A, or Sir Galahad, or Mother Teresa. You know what I mean? It's going to be different stories because the characters are going to act differently. If you read these early Justice Leagues, we were talking about Julius Schwartz and Gardner Fox. I forget what issue of the Justice League I'm up to, but it's still, before issue 20. It doesn't matter who the characters are. The plot is the plot is the plot. You swap out Superman, put in Spider-Man, swap. It doesn't matter. The story's on rails. The characters are doing what the plot requires them to do, even against the natures and powers of the characters. Had Storm knocked on the door, we wouldn't have all of this. So Storm is acting out of character, or is she? Is she the kind of person that doesn't knock on doors? So we can have this. It's weird. Which is the right way to tell the story? Well, we got the rule of cool. The rule of action is that she doesn't knock on the door. But she could have knocked on the door, and the junkies could have flashed a knife because she doesn't know the password, or everybody they knew were there, or they're on drugs and they're paranoid. It could make it work. But to me, that Storm just opens up a door. Is this supposed to signify she's naive? Is she arrogant? Is she stupid? Or is it just the plot dictates? I don't know. It works despite the fact that it shouldn't work. But to me, it always made Storm look a little, I don't know, stupid, naive, arrogant, some sort of combination. You don't just walk into it. Like, how stupid do you need to be to you walk into it? Like I remember my father, he grew up in Long Island City, and he's like, let's go see where I live. So we went for a drive, and we went to his neighborhood, and it was like this build. It was bad. We didn't just walk down the street. Can you guys see me? I just roboted out. You know what I mean? Just because you were born someplace, I went to go Albuquerque. I moved out, and a year later, I went back to get all my stuff out of storage. I didn't walk into the house that I lived in and just open the door. Hey, I lived here. Somebody else lives here now. I don't know how to write a plot-driven story, to be honest. I come up with the cool story, then I insert the characters, and then I think about it, then I write it, and then I realize the story that I wrote was different because the characters have to act a certain way. Otherwise they're just robots. Robots plugged in that have no personality. That would be interesting. The same scenario, but different plots based on the character. Yeah, that would be fun. Like a fun exercise to rewrite a famous Spider-Man story, but insert Wolverine or Batman. How would it go? That's kind of funny. Yeah, that's interesting. Good mental experiment. As a little kid, Storm sure had my attention. Yeah, nobody drew Storm better than John Byrne. She was beautiful. She was elegant. She was regal. Everything. She was unearthly. You could see why people mistook her as a goddess. Please don't come any closer. I don't want to harm you. You ain't gonna be hurting anybody, honey bunch. We are. My hand, boom, so fast didn't see him coming. He cut me to the bone, and I like this. She's bleeding. We don't necessarily see the cut, but we see the shock, horror, realization that she was stupid. And she goes, I warned you, boy. What's happening? You chose the wrong victim this time. I have the will and the power to fight back. Your numbers, your weapons are nothing to me, for I control the elemental forces of nature. Cripes, she's some kind of superhero. I have to be very careful. The building is rotten, falling apart. Too much power could shatter it. Jeez, she's whipping up a hurricane out of thin air. For all that bluster and bravado, they're still just children. If I keep them off balance, there shouldn't be any problem. With that witch is so busy with the others, she forgot about me. Which suits Bluey just fine. Just keep you back for a second or, sweet mama, you'll never know. So I always, here we got her torso and everything, in front of her is the storm. Behind her is not the storm. And this guy's got the knife. And then, punk. Easy, Cage. He's just a kid. Don't hurt him. Shoot, Misty. If he was an adult, I would have slammed him through the wall instead of into it. Luke Cage, Misty Knight. How you doing, Storm? As the saying goes, you're a righteous lady. Like, what's a righteous lady like you doing in a dump like this? I was looking for something. But why are you here? Luke and I were cruising the neighborhood when we heard a street talk about a tall, regal, white-headed sister making the rounds. We figured it was you. And then we saw lightning bolts popping out of the top floor windows. So that makes sense. And there was a tall, regal-looking, white-haired woman. Who else could it possibly be? And I did, Misty Knight already knew Storm. She just basically just saw him last issue in the Alpha Flight story. So remember, Misty Knight is partners with Colleen Wing. I just love when they take all of these secondary characters and introduce them together. And he's popping up. And it makes sense. Again, this is Marvel being a single cohesive universe. Everything works together. This is Luke Cage's turf. This is where his comics are set. And the X-Men just saw Power Man Iron Fist in their most recent issue of their own comic. So I just love this. Tying it together. It kind of works. Makes sense. And again, just like Dave Brink says, this issue is my first introduction to Power Man. Me too. This is how I met this character. Drawn by John Byrne. He's got the yellow shirt, the blue pants, and the tiara, but John Byrne makes it work. So cool. This was great Marvel Universe. All one cohesive universe with continuity. Yet they had their own unique flavors. It's not like Marvel now where everybody's Wolverine's on every team, Spider-Man's on every team, Look at all this. Tonga banana stamp and 100 others. Only 10 cents. Jumbo 3D stamps. Anybody collect stamps? So thank you. Not a pretty sight, is it? Reading his dialogue is rough for me. What do you expect? Got no homes, no decent school, and no money, no jobs, no hope. They shoot up skag and then shoot people to get bread to feed their habits. They're so young, yeah. They live in a society more concerned about caging 13-year-olds for life for trying to get a decent chance. You bleeding heart liberal. Studies show that economics does not stop crime. There's nothing we can do. We're superheroes, Oro, not God. We can save humanity from Doc Doom or Galactus, but not from itself. Come on, let's get a doc to look at your hand. I'll call the cops. So now now we're back to Colleen Wing and Cyclops. So I'm stuffy, huh? Afraid so. But there's hope. Deep inside that musky, uptight exterior is a heck of a nice guy. Very shy, very straight arrow, but well worth knowing. You have potential, Scott. I think I'm just the one to help you realizing it. Oh, no, she's going to fix him. Oh, no, we've all dated that girl who wants to fix him. I wish you'd stay, but I've got to work. Here's something to remember. Open it after the train's pulled out. Oh, Colleen, what are you getting yourself into? Head says keep things casual. Heart says go for broke. Out of a risk that way. We could both be terribly hurt. So also, we could be terribly happy. So he opens it up. It's a key to Colleen's apartment. Ta-da! She likes Scott. Can't misread that signal. Here's a key to my house. Prologue. And this was my first introduction to the Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. So this is a home of a very expensive assassin, the most expensive assassin in the world. I'm Miss Locke, and my employer will join you directly when we reach cruising altitude. I don't like this, Tom. I think we're making a mistake. Okay, don't start on that. I'm the Juggernaut, Tom. If anyone can destroy the X1, if anyone has earned the right, it's me. Not some menacing, pipsqueak, pea-brained wacko killer for hire. Is that so? 6 times I think you tried to kill the X-Men, old team and new, and 6 times you failed. Let someone else try for once. Maybe a bigger, better fish to fry. If that succeeds, those cursed mutants will be dead and we'll be millionaires. If he fails, we'll still be billionaires and we'll be free to try whatever you're satisfied. Mr. Black Tom, Mr. Kane Marco, or do you prefer the nom du crime Juggernaut? Anyway, gents. Suspense. We got the X-Men. Oh, we got the Fantastic Four with Herbie. I don't even like looking at that. We got Inception. We got the cover inside the comic. And then we got Spider-Man fighting Hotshot. And we understand that Spider-Man likes Twinkies, making him far superior to all the monsters like Iron Man who like fruit pies. First appearance of Arcade. Arcade, the name murders the game. You may play, satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. Let's talk turkey. Troops, Miss Locke says these superheroes are your targets. Well, Black Tom, Juggernaut. At the moment, we got ourselves a deal. The X-Men are as good as dead. Next issue, Murder World Revisited, or Funfair is another name for murder. First appearance of Arcade. This is the Arcade that I like. Just a goofball assassin. You know, he's a one-trick pony, and it works. Show up once in a while. Now, what does he have? Like superpowers? He can control reality. It's stupid. But this is Arcade. And the next issue, oh my God, it's so much fun. So much fun, the next 2 issues. Can't wait. So we got Theos McKay, William Nuff, Bob Allen, and Scott Lettner. These are the people who wrote the letters. And then we got Toy Soldiers over here. Prizes and cash. Spalding presents Street Ball with Rick Barry and Dr. J. You know, by Jack Davis. Great Jack Davis artwork. I love that ad. Even though I'm not a basketball player, not a sports guy, I do like this ad. A lot of fun. Get some basketballs. You know, get out there, do something physical every once in a while. Stop reading comic books, kid. So there you go. That's X-Men 122. What do you think? What do you think? And as usual, I'll keep talking as long as the comments are going. I got bags of boards. I got a bag of boards of comics, sort some stuff. And I got about, it's weird, my discount comic book service package showed up. I haven't got comics in like 2 months. So now I got new comics. I might even do another video later today talking about new comics. So there you go. A lot of first. This was my first introduction to the Juggernaut, Black Tom Cassidy, Arcade, obviously, and Power Man. And a lot of little things happened. It was an exciting issue. It was like, you know, downtime in between adventures. You could do that in a monthly comic. Nobody's going to get mad. It was all character, little exploration. You know, learned a little bit about Wolverine. He's in love with, he's got yellow fever. You know, Cyclops has got yellow fever. You know, Colossus is getting over his inferiority complex. Wolverine is evolving. He's no longer just a gadfly. He's becoming like an interesting character in his own right. A lot of feelings explored by Cyclops, which to me indicates that he is being manipulated by Jean Grey. And then we got the beginning of the Dark Phoenix saga, literally the beginning. She meets Jason Wingard. And the mystery of what happened to Angus McGuire. So much is happening. This is full-on soap opera comics. Omnipro's got to go. Omnipro has got to go. There you go. So, again, let's see. At this point, I talk about what's going on my channel this week. So, okay. Wow, today's the 1st already? February 1st. So tomorrow at midnight, no, Tuesday at midnight. Or is it tomorrow at midnight? Yeah, Tuesday at midnight, we got Ryan Banks. Wednesday at midnight, I got RJ from the Fourth Age. I kind of want to do Avengers Assemble. Maybe I'll do it Thursday at midnight. Friday at midnight, we're doing it's Clobber Time, Best Decade in Comics. Saturday, I'll be on Cooper's channel, Telepathic Bunny, for conspiracies, cryptids, and stuff. We're going to be talking about Tartaria, and then Sunday comics. So that's my week. That's my week's plan. Working on comics, getting pages of art. So everything's pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain. So all right, looks like I'm shutting down. No more comments. So at this, I will say goodbye, kids.